Okay, I'm not gonna lie, as I read through these chapters, I was like, oh my gosh, why am I deciding to get back into competing? What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel and to another video. Today we are going to be discussing Medalist Volume 2. If this is your first time at the channel, hi, hello, welcome. My name is Hannah and I am a competitive figure skater at the adult level. And I've actually reacted to all of Season 1. If you want to check that out, I'll put a playlist in my description. But long story short, I fell in love with the series, so much so that I decided to go from a former competitive figure skater to a current competitive figure skater. And I will be competing in February, and that'll be the first time competing in over 6 years. Yay. And a lot of people told me that the anime did take out some small details, as well as reacting to it. I did pause a lot, but I wanted to pause a little bit less. So I'm going to talk about the manga and discuss things, and we're going to actually get all the way through Volume 4 before the start of the new year, because the new year is when Medalist Season 2 comes out, so I plan to kind of ramp up getting ready to get back into kind of that sphere of content creation. Talking about the manga means I have a lot more opportunity to just kind of yap and discuss things from a figure skater's perspective, both talking about the realism as well as just talking about the things that mean a lot to me. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment your thoughts. And definitely make sure you subscribe if you're interested in watching me react to Season 2. That is coming very soon. It's crazy. I can't believe it's already almost here. So make sure you subscribe to join the party. Also, at the end of this video, I'm going to be discussing some of the Grand Prix final with real life skating. So if you are interested in that, as well as a quick check-in on my current skating myself, please watch until the end. But right off the bat, this volume, one of the things I wrote down, I have my trusty notes with me again. One of the things they said, and I'm paraphrasing because I wrote this down, I fell in love with skating that day, and they were talking about watching it on TV and just admiring how pretty it was and that sort of thing. And I feel like that's the story for so many people, including myself. I feel like there's two ways to get into figure skating, and one of them is either you watch it on TV and you say, I want to do that, and then you don't let go until your parents decide to actually put you into skating, or you grow up in a climate where winter sports are just very popular because you get very cold winters. Now, I was definitely the former. I've actually never lived in an environment where it gets really, really cold during the winter. In fact, I've told people that I'm a figure skater in my area, and they're like, how do you get into that? And I'm like, well, there's ice rinks. But I did really feel connected to that opening sentence of just really watching the sport, falling in love with it, and then wanting to do it. I watched the 2002 Olympic Games. I watched Sarah Hughes win, and then Sasha Cohen was really my favorite. She came in fourth that year. And I pretty much begged my parents to put me into skating until they decided they had to make me stop begging. And the rest is history. I fell in love with the sport and I never looked back. So I really liked that this volume opened up that way, because I was like, I can relate. And this chapter pretty much picked right back up into our first competition, which they put Inori into this very quickly. Normally for skaters, you take at least quite a few months before you put them into the pressure of competing. There can definitely sometimes be a big difference between loving skating and loving competing. Competing is such a stressful experience that a lot of people love being in that kind of environment of just being stressed and nervous all the time, while others, it takes them a while to build up to get there, and you need to really build up that confidence before they compete. Now, Inori, of course, is a special case because she is a manga main character, so she's not going to follow the exact timeline of most normal figure skaters, but I forgot how quickly, I think it's been only a few months since she really started taking skating seriously and started working with Tsukasa. So I think that just the quickness of this is not normal, but I can kind of forgive it because it is, of course, a manga and not real life. And as they kind of build up the suspense of competing, I was like reading, I'm going, why am I doing this? I know that I'm going to be very nervous, especially at my first competition, but I do miss it. It's like a weird thing. I was trying to explain this to my husband because he was like, why do you want to compete when you're so stressed at these competitions? And I told him, I don't know. Like, I don't love the stress. I'm not someone who's like thriving off of the stress, but there's something else about competing and how you feel when you skate well, and even learning from the bad skates. There's something so special about it that I miss, and it's weird. But fun fact, the warm-up, which in this volume that was 4 minutes long, as you get higher level, it'll get longer, all the way up to 6 minutes, because the higher level you get, the longer it takes to warm up your elements. And of course, warm-ups are there so that you can get into the ice, get a feel for it, and get your jumps warmed up, really. Like, it's so that you're not just going out and skating on stagnant muscles for your competition, which many times you still are. Skaters who skate last in a warm-up group, especially at a high level like the international events, they're waiting an hour after they warm up to actually compete. So their muscles are not warm anymore from the warm-up itself. They have to continue to move and just keep their muscles warm elsewhere. The warm-up, on the other hand, is my most nerve-wracking part of competing. I actually dislike warming up more than I dislike competing. And that's really weird. I think it's because the warm-up just reminds me of how much pressure I'm under. I don't know. It's never been something that I've really been able to put my finger on, but I personally find the warm-up more nerve-wracking. I think it's because it's a longer period of time where it's kind of go, 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 not as difficult as doing a program. I say that doing a program is like sprinting straight through. Warm-up is not quite as bad as that, but it is longer, so you don't really have time to catch your breath. You just have to go. So like even the warm-up requires some stamina training and that sort of thing. And in this case, of course, Inori's warm-up goes very, very wrong. I think that can sometimes be a good sign for a lot of skaters. I have met a lot of skaters that actually prefer to have bad warm-ups. It's actually like they prefer it. It's not that they're trying to make it bad. They just honestly feel better if it is, because sometimes it's just a time to get out those nerves, to get out those kinks that you're feeling because you're in this different environment than just practicing. And in Inori's case, you also add to it, this is her first competition, so she's never experienced how it feels. Something that I think this story has done really, really well is try to truly explain to people how different competing feels compared to just practicing. It's something that the non-figure skater might not fully understand is skating is very difficult when your legs are shaky, when your heart is pounding, when that makes it difficult to breathe sometimes, when you feel like you're gonna pass out. Like, those are all things that you can genuinely feel when you're competing or about to compete, just out of the nerves and the stress of the environment. And I think when it comes to Inori, she's doing this so quickly from when she started skating. She's never been able to really simulate that feeling. A lot of coaches will put skaters through a simulation where essentially you go through competing. You show up to the rink an hour early, you warm up, you do your hair, you do your makeup, you check in with another coach who's a part of the simulation as well, and then you do your 5-minute warm up, and then you do your program with an audience watching. And sometimes they'll even have a judge come in and give you like a mock score. Like, some coaches will go the extra mile to give you that experience without it being a real competition. Inori obviously hasn't had that opportunity to do so. So I think on one hand, it's like, oh, is she figuring out that maybe she's one of those skaters that prefers to have a bad warm-up and then skates better? Or is it just a matter of she's never experienced this before, she doesn't know what to do? It's very, very, very nerve-wracking, and I think it's probably gonna lean more towards that way. But I really like how they depicted it, because sometimes that can happen. You feel confident going into a competition, you show up, you're nervous as heck, and all of a sudden everything starts failing you. That will happen from time to time. Now, there was something that I noticed during the warm-up when she warmed up her flying sit spin, which ended up not going well. There was like an art mistake there where she was clearly going to land on her right foot, and from the whoosh thing that they draw, it looked like she was spinning clockwise. But when she competed later on, she was clearly going to land on her left foot. And by that I mean like the leg that's tucked in underneath her. That's the leg she's gonna land on for the flying sit spin. And in the warm-up, the right foot was tucked under her. In the actual competitive program, the left foot was tucked under her. So I think there was just a quick little something that sometimes people who are not figure skaters, even if they do a lot of research, might just accidentally do incorrectly. But just the whole experience of Inori's mom coming and trying to tell Tsukasa to make her do a more easy program, and having the little girl kind of look at her and say, oh my gosh, I want to be like her. And then the entire competitive program itself, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it, mostly because I already reacted to that anime and I feel like they kind of got the point across then, but I did tear up again reading it. It's very, very emotional. I don't like that Inori's mom went and approached her coach after, like, she did her warm-up but before she competed, at least in the States. And again, I always like to draw the idea that obviously Medalist is based off of Japanese skating and all that stuff. I've never experienced that because I've lived in the United States my entire life, and I've never competed in Japan. I've only competed in the United States, so I don't know if there's certain different things. However, at our competitions, parents do not come near their skater, their child, anytime in between the warm-up and the program. And if they tried, most coaches are going to keep the parent away and try to educate them on the fact that they're not supposed to do that, because it can really just make the kid feel a different level of nerves when the parents are kind of meddling in that way. So it makes me anxious to read that, just like it did when I was watching the anime, because I'm like, you shouldn't be coming anywhere near them. Like, the coach is there because they are aware of the situation. A parent is not always. I wanted to throw out here, I really just want to highlight the art. As I was reading through Inori's competitive program, I was just in awe of how beautifully drawn everything was. There's something about manga artwork that's just so gorgeous, and in my opinion, the mangaka here is just doing such a spectacular job. Okay, so the judges mentioning that Inori was being coached by a former ice dancer and correlating that to the fact that she had better skating skills than everyone else. So at the end of the day, like, obviously we know that Inori goes on to win this event, and it's not a perfect program. She fell in her opening single axel. She didn't have any double jumps, but she made the one mistake, but she had the skating skills and she had the flying sit spin. Now, I've talked a lot about the fact that at Inori's level, spins are worth more than jumps. So if you have a well done high level spin, you are getting twice as many points on that element than you would get on a well-done double Saukow. But I don't remember them going into this as much detail in the anime, so this might have been something that was cut out, was seeing the judges' thoughts of being like, wow, well, she's coached by an ice dancer, so that makes sense. And I really like that they called that out, because skating, at the end of the day, is about everything. Yes, at the senior level, there are a lot of skaters that do exceptionally better than others simply because they have the technical content to back that up. However, at Inori's level, it's really just about being a well-rounded skater. The skating skills, the component side of things, and the spin levels are just as important, if not more important, than the jumps. And as we see, as we kind of move on with Mike, with Mittens, she is someone, while she made a huge mistake because of the rules, she is someone who maybe doesn't have everything out. She doesn't have the spin level. She seems to skate very fast and she performs well, so she still is probably fairly good on the component side. But her mistake, along with just not having everything out, is what at the end of the day made her go behind Inori. And I really like that they called the rules there, because I feel like a lot of people who might just watch skating for fun don't really know about the ins and outs. Our judging system is so freaking complicated. There are so many rules that we have to follow, but to the untrained eye, you would see someone like Mike skate and assume that they're gonna win because they didn't fall, and her mistakes are not something that you can pick up on if you don't know the rules of the sport. Like they mentioned, you're only allowed to repeat certain things a certain amount of times, and I believe in their level, you're not allowed to repeat any of the jumps. You can only do each jump one time, which means since she went in and switched the last flip to a double sow, she invalidated that element. Now, it used to be where if you repeated a jump one too many times in a sequence, whether that be a combo of 2 jumps or a sequence of 3 jumps, the entire jumping pass became invalid. They have since changed it to now the invalid element is the only thing that doesn't get you any points. If you did another jump in that combo, you'll still get points for that jump. So she might have still gotten points for that axle because she did a double Saukow single axle combo, but she's still giving up a half a point because the flip is worth about a half a point, and if she'd done it well, she would have got more points. Now again, at their level, it's not as big of a deal, so her score still wasn't as far behind as Inori's as you would think of someone having an invalid element, but because of the base value, and then you add to it that Inori probably had a higher spin level and better components, Inori was able to win this event. So I really, really like that they do a very good job at really explaining the complexity of everything within the sport, including the whole invalid element thing, because it's just something that people who don't skate don't tend to pick up on. You see someone fall, you expect them to not win, essentially, but that's not always the case. There's a lot more to it than that. But overall, just the emotions came back watching Inori compete and watching her win. It can definitely be a bit of a curse to win your first competition. You start to think that you're really good. I fell victim to that curse when I was younger. I was very talented when I started, and I started getting first place, and then all of a sudden I got last place, and it became a very difficult thing for me to accept. So I'm interested to kind of see how we move along with Inori starting out as a gold medalist. And I think she competes again sometime before season 2, but I don't remember what happened, so we'll hold that thought. Okay, I know I called this out when I watched the anime, but I'm going to call it out again. Hikaru does the most difficult triple jump that you can do, a triple Lutz triple loop. Not only is the triple Lutz the most difficult triple jump before a triple axel, a triple loop is not really done by many skaters, as it is exceptionally more difficult to do a combo with a loop at the end than a toe loop at the end. Because essentially what happens is if you do a toe loop at the end, if your first jump is a little bit off, you can usually still reload, realign, get your toe pick in the ice and launch off of it. But if you're doing a loop, you don't have the opportunity to do so. You literally land on your foot and you just jump right back up without being able to use your free leg as an assist. So most skaters just don't do it. It's worth a lot more points, but the risk outweighs the reward for most skaters. I can only think of one skater that's doing it internationally at the Olympic level this year, and that is the reigning world champion, Alyssa Liu. And she's been somewhat successful at it. She got an under rotation at her last event, and then her grade of execution was not very good at the first two. So she's the only one that I know of that's doing it at the international level. It's just that hard. So props to Hikaru. Tsukasa meeting his idol. So we just found out that he was fawning over the Olympic champion of June, and then he meets him and then is instantly like, oh, this guy's kind of not very nice. I'm glad that when I met my idol of figure skating, that did not happen to me. First of all, Sasha Cohen was my first idol that I met. I was only 8 years old, so if she was even remotely mean to me, I would have been crushed. I would have been absolutely crushed. And then I met Ashley Wagner when I was like in my early 20s, and she was always so kind to me. I met her multiple times. I was probably a little bit too in her DMs a lot, but she was really kind and she like responded to me a lot. So I was very appreciative of her. Now, June's words to Inori are harsh, but fairly normal in the skating world. June's words to Tsukasa are extremely dramatic, and I have never seen two coaches say that to each other. Not to say it's never happened. It probably has occasionally. That's not just usually something that coaches really say to each other. And of course, I mean that when June was talking to Inori, he was saying that like, because she was saying like, oh, I'm going to compete against Hikaru and I'm going to beat her someday. And he was like, you're kidding, right? Like, you both are the same age and you're starting so far behind her, you're never going to catch her. And then June said to Tsukasa that your student beating my student means you beat me. I'm the Olympic champion. You didn't even get on the podium at All Japan's. Like, what do you think you're doing here? I don't think most coaches have this idea. There are many coaches that are very, very good and well-known and have Olympic champions that never touched Olympic ice themselves. It's not necessarily just about what you did as a competitor. It is about what you can do as a coach. And then we later move forward to see that Tsukasa works with another coach while Inori does her badge test, where it turns out that he's actually really freaking good at coaching itself. But I do like that we're setting up a rivalry for both Inori and Tsukasa. Like, both of them are like, I want to beat this other person. And I like that because I feel like the story could kind of lead to really only Inori having a rival, but Tsukasa's like, okay, I'm gonna beat the Olympic champion. Inori girl, your double sow. She's all excited to tell him that she landed it like the day prior and then she can't land it in front of him. That is so common. There are so many times where you'll land a jump. That does not mean it's consistent and it does not mean you're gonna land it the next day. And I get this because my own double sow, I've landed it quite a few times, and there was one day where I landed like 4 out of 5 attempts. And recently though, I've been like 0 for 4 at most of my freestyles. I'm choosing to be okay with it. It's part of the process, but it is frustrating. I get it, but it's very normal. You land it once, you're still gonna struggle to get it consistent afterwards. And sometimes you land it really well when your coach isn't there, and then your coach is there and you can't land it because you feel like a weird different kind of pressure because they're watching. It was funny. All right, and then we ended this volume with Inori going to take her badge 1 test, and she passed easily. They kind of rushed over this super fast. She was doing a single Zaokao, so tests are usually going to be technically easier than what you compete at that level. So for example, at level 1, you're gonna be having probably a double Zaokao and a double loop to be competitive, but the badge test only requires for you to do a single Zaokao. So the tests are always going to be a much easier technical thing than what is actually competitive. Like I think in the US, the senior free skate test, which isn't called that anymore, I think it's called the gold free skate test. I don't know why they changed the names. It really annoys me that they did, but I digress. I'm not a part of US figure skating, so I can't really complain that much. But it was a senior free skate test, so senior is the level that competes internationally, which competitively, internationally, you want to have triple triples. At this point, you want to have a triple axel. We're having more and more skaters show up with clean triple axels. But the senior free skate test, the highest jump that you do is like a double Lutz. So it's very different. Did the anime mention that Hikaru was an orphan? I feel like they briefly touched on the fact that she like didn't go to school and she was at the rink all day, but I don't remember it being mentioned that she was an orphan. So that was kind of like, that was the end of this volume, and I was like, whoa, I don't remember that happening. So let me know if that was not in the anime or if I just forgot. But overall, this volume had a really good mix of my emotions, of the competition, and Inori's mom kind of pulling through and deciding to fully support Inori rather than have the mindset of like, you'll be done at the end of like junior high or something. And it also had a lot of good technical like reminders. Tsukasa even asking the coach in Kyoto, like, can you help me out? I'm a little bit unsure that I can teach jumping because all I was ever taught myself was ice dance. And I do really like that they brought that up because there is that level of, can an ice dancer coach freestyle skating? But they brought up the idea that he can see things at a little bit more detailed level, and he knows enough about jumping because he still did jump. He was just never taught how to jump. And I like that they brought that up because it really is a mixed bag within the sport. I would say there are a lot of coaches where they are going to be only good at coaching what they did competitively, but there are some that are good at both. So I really like that they brought that up, and yeah, I would give this volume a 9 out of 10. They did a very good job. There's just the occasional art mistake and that sort of thing, but it was really, really well done. So I was very, very happy with it. Okay, now kind of pivoting into my own skating, just a quick check-in. So like I said, while I was talking about Inori's double sow, my double sow is being a little bit elusive to me. My axle came very quickly and easily, and it's been doing really, really good. I've fallen on it like once out of the probably 50 attempts that I've done since I started working on it again. So my axle's looking really good. My double sow is giving me issues, and I think it's starting to get inside my brain because I've been falling a lot. And my 29-year-old body does not react to falling the way my 16-year-old body did. So it gets a little bit more tiring more quickly than it did, 10 years ago when I was still like old in skating terms, but not what I'm at now. And I think my body is also just adjusting to being back on the ice after such a long hiatus. So I'm not super worried yet. I'm a little bit. I'm competing in 2.5 months, and I want to have my double sow consistent by then. I wanted to have my double sow and my double toe loop consistent by then, but right now I'm just settling for double sow because it's going to be what it's going to be at my level. It's also very much about being well-rounded. The skaters that are winning aren't always doing all of the most difficult jumps. It's about having those components. It's about having the spin levels and then just doing a clean program. So that's what I'm choosing to focus on. Is this competition that's in February is just a small competition to get myself back into it. And my goal is to go and just skate as clean as I can and get my spin levels. And then depending on how that goes, we'll make some adjustments heading into sectionals, which is only a few weeks after that. There's like 2 weeks in between or something like that. So I'm not gonna have a whole lot of time, but at least I'm gonna put myself back into that pressure cooker of nerves without it being a qualifying competition where I'm trying to qualify for nationals. So my double sow, I have some videos of it looking really good. I'll put them here, but it's been a little bit elusive lately. I've kind of been dealing with a sore hip flexor on my right side, which again, I think is also just because it's been a while since I've been skating as consistently as I am. I'm skating 3 times a week right now, and I think I'm gonna keep that schedule up for now. I'll probably skate 4 times a week in like February or something, we'll see, but just trying to kind of balance off-ice training with the on-ice training to work best for me. So my program is fully choreographed. We're working on my dress now. Again, I think you all probably have a good idea of what I'm skating to if you watch my channel at all, but I'm not going to give it to you straight until I actually compete. But it's not much of an update. It's something, you know, I'm gonna be competing in February. Do you guys wanna see, like, I could vlog competing or just kind of talk about how it went? I don't know. Let me know what you want. All right, with that, let's discuss the upcoming Grand Prix final. So this season is really exciting, of course, because the Olympics are in February. In fact, I think they're happening while I go and do that competition, which is kind of exciting. I'll be competing during the Olympics, not competing at the Olympics, but at least competing during them. So hopefully watching the Olympics will kind of give me a little bit more of that motivation push to skate clean at my competition. We'll see. But we're really kind of trying to figure out who's gonna go to the Olympics. The big story is the Japanese women's team because they get 3 spots, that's the maximum. And there are honestly probably 6 or 7 skaters that can easily make the team. However, now that the Grand Prix series is done and we're about to head into the Grand Prix final, there are 4 Japanese women at the Grand Prix final, and I do think, just based off of how it usually goes, I think the team will be some version of those 4 skaters. And those skaters are Kaori Sakamoto, Mone Chiba, Ami Nakai, and Rinka Watanabe. Kaori and Mone are all but locked in my opinion. It's really going to be a battle between Rinka and Ami to go to the Olympics with that 3rd spot. And I think the Grand Prix final is going to be very telling. Now there are 2 US women at this Grand Prix final, which is Amber Glenn and Alyssa Liu. Alyssa Liu, of course, is the reigning world champion. Amber had a disappointing finish at World with 5th after an undefeated season, but she just didn't skate as well as she was skating all season at Worlds. I think because the US is pretty thick, but not nearly as competitive as the Japanese women, Amber and Alyssa were already, in my opinion, shoo-ins for that Olympic team. Them qualifying for the Grand Prix final seals the deal. I think they both could have not the greatest nationals and still make the Olympic team because Alyssa's the reigning world champion, so they definitely want to have the reigning world champion at the Olympics, and Amber has that consistent triple axel and is just scoring really well. I think they're both going to the Olympics easily. It'll really be a battle for the 3rd spot, but I think Isabel Levito is getting it. I don't think Brady's really the only one at this point that can challenge for it. Sarah Everhart was someone I thought might be able to, but she just hasn't been consistent this season, which was her shtick last year. So anyway, let's talk about the Grand Prix final. I think this is going to be really interesting because I want to see clean skates from all of them, and if they all have clean skates, there's gonna be some big surprises, I think. So first things first, I think that if everyone skates clean, Kaori is still going to win. Even though 3 of the 6 skaters here have not just triple axels, but like well done triple axels. And I'm saying if even they skate clean with triple axels, Kaori should beat them because Kaori has the components. She has the speed, the skating skills, and the grade of execution behind her that kind of overtakes that like 6-point gap in base value that the triple axel skaters have. Now, with Kaori, I think I'm a little bit nervous. She's actually been skating very well this season. She usually has one skate on the Grand Prix, and she hasn't had that yet. So I'm a little bit worried about that happening at the final. I also feel like Kaori is just skating with a different mindset this year though, because she has announced this is her final season. I don't even want to talk about that right now. But I think she's skating for herself, even though she's mentioned She wants to win gold in Milan, and I think she absolutely can. I still think she's the favorite. I feel like she's just kind of also letting herself just be herself. She's skating to music that she wants to skate to. It just feels a little bit different this year for many reasons, but I think that she might be able to overcome that like one competition a year thing where she just doesn't skate that well. I still am a little bit worried. I think if she makes a couple of mistakes, she could very well find herself literally off the podium here because it's such a competitive event. But she's still, like, in my opinion, the best bet to win because even the skaters with triple axel skating clean, I don't think they'll be able to beat her here. The skater that qualified first and the only skater to qualify with 2 gold medals is Monet Chiba, and she is just squeaky clean all the time. She has had a few under rotations, like cues here and there, and she had an uncharacteristic kind of 3-turn out of her triple-triple at the short program in Finland. But Monet is just a skater who I think she just gets better with every competition, but where she started wasn't even that bad. Am I the hugest fan of her? I can't really put my finger on it. There's something missing that I just don't feel it when she's skating. I feel like she's a very good skater. Like, her skating skills are very good. Her carriage is very good. Her jumps are amazing. Her programs are definitely better this year than they were last, but there still is something missing when I watch her skate. That is just, I don't know what it is. I feel like she's just checking off boxes while she skates, and I think that comes with time. She's still very young. I think she's only 19. But that being said, you cannot ignore how consistent she skates and how good her elements are. So I think that she's definitely a favorite to be on this podium. But for her, she's gonna also have to kind of bet on other skaters not skating clean. I think if everyone goes clean, we could very much see her getting pushed off the podium, even though she's been putting up really high scores and she's qualifying in first. Now, Alyssa Liu is a bit of an anomaly here. On one hand, I can say that I, of all the skaters, expect her to skate clean. Maybe some, cues, some under rotations, but is she gonna pop? Probably not. Is she gonna fall? Probably not. Now, hopefully I didn't just jinx her, but Alyssa is just skating with this mindset of she doesn't care. She's just skating because she wants to skate, which on one hand it can be a little bit like scary and almost like frustrating because it's like, Alyssa, please take this seriously. You're the reigning world champion. But on the other hand, it is also like, I trust her to just go out and skate because she's just enjoying it. Now for her, she's just gonna need to watch out for those cues and those under rotation calls that she tends to get. She's been skating, her jumps look a lot stronger this year than they've had like all of last year up until Worlds. So it's gonna be interesting. She's more of a question mark, as in, is she gonna be doing her new Gaga free skate? And she could win, she could come in 6th. Like, I just don't know, because she's a little bit more dependent on how everyone else skates. So we'll see. But interestingly enough, I actually feel like those 3 have the biggest shot at being the podium here, even though the other 3 are the 3 with triple axels. But with high risk comes higher chance of making mistakes. So, Ami Nakai. Ami, I'm a huge fan of, first of all, but she came out of nowhere in France and won the whole thing, beating Kaori. But then at Canada was kind of messy with the triple axel. And here's the thing with Ami. She's gonna do everything else well. However, when she messes up the triple axel, it's usually a pretty major mess up, like a downgrade. And what happens is when you downgrade your triple axel, you are now getting the base value of a double with the negative grade of execution. So you are now putting yourself behind the skaters who don't have a triple axel, but did a double axel well. So Ami is also the only one that's put up a short program score lower than 70. The other 5 here have only put up short program scores above 70 the entire Grand Prix. So on one hand, she has a really high scoring ceiling because if she can nail the triple axel, I think she'll nail everything. She's very consistent with her other triple jumps. But my question is she going to nail the triple axel? I think she's the least likely of the 3 with triple axels to go clean with the triple axel. So I have to kind of put her in the like 6th to 5th range because I just don't know what she's gonna do. She was kind of all over the place as a junior last year, and she's shown that she's kind of all over the place this season. I don't know what's gonna happen with her. Like, she's the big question mark of I don't know how she's gonna skate. Amber Glenn. Amber, I want her to literally skate clean and win. Like, I'm such a big fan of Amber, but I'm worried about her scoring because we just saw her do a clean short program in Finland. They gave her a Q on the triple triple. I kind of agreed with the call. However, I hate the Q call because she got lower grade of execution on her triple triple that looked well done, while Monet did the 3 turns out of it. So in an obvious air, she got still higher grade of execution than Amber because she didn't get a Q call. I don't like how that scoring thing works. I don't like the Q calls at all. Amber's component scores have been really low this season too, compared to most of the other skaters. And I'm just worried that like the judges are just not fully getting behind her. And on top of that, if there's gonna be a skater that's gonna make even like a few small mistakes, it's gonna be Amber. Like, she's the one who's gonna possibly fall, possibly pop, possibly step out. Like, she has the highest level of inconsistency as everyone else. So I'm not sure she can manage a podium here because all the other skaters, like, I feel like can go clean. Reminding everyone that Amber won the Grand Prix final last year because she's the one who made the least amount of mistakes. Everyone was a mess at the Grand Prix final last year. If that happens again this year, Amber can absolutely win easily. I just don't know if it's going to be a mess. I feel like the Japanese women have so much pressure on their shoulders that they know they have to skate clean here because this event is like deciding the team for them, essentially. Amber and Alyssa can kind of coast at this point. They've qualified for the final no matter what they do here and at nationals, unless they both have just complete meltdowns at both events and come in 5th and 6th here and 5th and 6th at nationals. Unless that happens, they're going to the Olympics, and I don't think it's going to. So I'm a bit unsure where Amber's gonna end up. If everyone's kind of making small mistakes, I think she'll be on the podium easily. But if everyone skates clean, I see a world where even with the triple axel, she's not on that podium, unfortunately. And then finally, Rinka Watanabe, who's the biggest surprise of this event. I think Rinka is just happy to be at the final, honestly. She definitely, like, she has 2 triple axels planned in the free skate, but she has yet to do that well. So Rinka, almost more so than Amber, is the one that's more than likely to make mistakes here. And I think she also does not have the component scores or the grade of execution to really back that up. And she tends to land on the Q a lot on her jumps. So I feel like Rinka is on both sides, even if she skates clean with the like component scores and everything. I think she's the most likely to end up 6th here, but I'm cheering for her because I really like her as well. I love all 6 skaters that are here. It's really tough to choose. But I'm just like looking at the perspective of like the Japanese women are coming here and they still have a lot of pressure on them because there's 4 of them here and only 3 spots. So they're still kind of fighting for those Olympic spots. And that can either lead to them having some of the best skates of their lives or having a really rough time because there's so much pressure. While Alyssa and Amber can go into this knowing that like they've pretty much secured their ticket for the Olympics. They're doing this for themselves. So that could be put them in like a better position than the Japanese women. So I'm not sure exactly how it's gonna go. I'm just gonna predict the podium. I might surprise people. I think it's gonna be Kaori 1st, Alyssa 2nd, and Monet 3rd. And yes, that means that the 3 triple axlers will be 4th, 5th, and 6th. I just think that it's because of the chance that those 3 with the triple axles making mistakes are way higher than the 3 without. So I think when it all is said and done, that while I want everyone to skate clean, and if everyone skates clean in both programs, then the result will be very different than what I'm saying. I just don't think that's gonna happen. So I know for one thing, Kaori's gonna get the components and the grade of execution. Alyssa's gonna skate clean, mostly. Monet's gonna skate clean, mostly. The other 3 are gonna be all over the place, possibly. So, and some of them don't have the backing of the component scores or the grade of execution or get a lot of cues. So it's gonna be very interesting. I'm very excited. It's gonna be a great event. But that is gonna be it for today's video. If you liked it, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment your thoughts. Let me know if you want me to talk more about just like skating as a whole, not just in Medalist. Some of those videos might end up more on my backup channel just because I want to keep the theme of anime on this channel. But if you're interested in more, let me know. But thank you so much for watching today's video, and I'll see you all next time. Mata ne!